Hello and welcome. In this episode, we would like to talk about the differences between WFOE and RO in China. As most of you know, WFOE stands for Wholly Foreign Owned Enterprise, and this is the most common type of company in China that foreigners register. So let's start by counting the benefits and what it can do for you in China. So first of all, it's a limited liability company and functions exactly like limited liability company in many countries. So basically, it gives limited liability to its shareholders. Of course, the liability is limited by the volume of the invested capital or registered capital in case of China, because in China, required paid-in capital is abolished, is not required anymore. So it's called registered capital. And usually this registered capital is mentioned on the business license of the company and is not expected to be injected immediately after company registration. The time frame is given to inject this registered capital is the validity of the business license, which is 30 years, okay, which is a really long period. So your liability as a shareholder of this kind of company is equal to the registered capital amount. For example, the common volume for registered capital is around 300,000 USD, and usually the company is expected to inject that capital either part by part or in two installments or in smaller parts, even within the validity of its business license, that is 30 years, like I mentioned. So if there are different shareholders, corporate and individual, all of them can have different volumes of these 300,000 USD registered capital. For example, company A might have 20,000, or company B might have 100,000, etc., etc. That is the internal affairs of the company. However, they negotiate. That's up to them. But the point is, all the shareholders, they are only liable in the amount of the registered capital that they agree to inject. Okay. And now the second thing is WFOE can have up to 50 shareholders. That can be a mixture of corporate and individual. There's no limitation. There's no restriction. Again, this is the internal affairs of the company. They can decide. And next benefit is most flexible, like I mentioned, and also it's the most preferred type of company in China. It's self-explanatory because it can engage in various business activities. It can hire local and foreign talent, can sponsor foreign employees, work and family visas, can invest in different businesses, can act as a holding company in China, and can open stores on local e-commerce platforms, can open branches outside of China. It can also open multi-currency bank accounts in and outside of China in countries where you can open corporate bank accounts for non-resident companies, for example, in Switzerland, or in some other countries, for example, Hong Kong, Singapore, to name a few. So in those countries, you can take your company's documents, WFOE, from China, and then go ahead, open corporate bank accounts. Also, the same goes true in bank accounts inside China. So when you open a bank account for your WFOE company, you can select from a number of major currencies of the world. It can be USD, euros, or it can be Hong Kong currency, dollars, etc., etc. And WFOE can have multiple business licenses in several categories. For example, trading business license, and in trading there are multiple products which require additional licenses. For example, food and beverage, or special type of chemicals, or electronic, electric vehicles, for example, etc. Or cargo license, shipping license. So all these different types of licenses can be applied for and obtained by a WFOE company in China. WFOE can also do market research, represent the mother company if it's a subsidiary. Why do we say it's a subsidiary? Because you can form WFOE as a standalone company, and also you can have it as a subsidiary of an existing company. Okay, if you have a company, for example, in the US or in Dubai or any country, that company can have a subsidiary as a limited liability, wholly foreign owned enterprise registered in China. So basically, this last point that I mentioned, this is the only activity your representative office can do. Okay, that is the only activity basically. So that's why I listed it here as a last, benefit, so that to show that WFOE can do more things, and then additionally what this representative office can do. Okay, there are so many other things. To be honest with you, there are many more benefits of WFOE, but I just picked the most important ones here. Okay, there are many other benefits. You can engage in partnerships. You can sign the executive dealerships, etc., of big brands here in China, which representative office cannot do simply. So let's go and look what representative office can do in China. First of all, it's not favored by the local governments. I will explain. The reason is the representative office is not an active taxpayer here. Okay, so naturally, most of the local governments across cities in China, for example, in Shanghai, you've got 19 districts. You can approach any local government and try to engage them in conversation on opening a representative office, and it will become quickly apparent that most of the local governments, they don't really prefer having a representative office in their jurisdiction. Why? Because simply representative office does not pay many taxes, or it's not an active taxpayer, like I said, because it's not earning any income, it's not generating any income, or not making any profits. Therefore, so they don't really prefer it. And hard to open a bank account. Yeah, in China recently, especially after the pandemic, banks become very picky. So therefore, they don't really like representative office for the same reason the local governments do not prefer them. Okay, why? Because banks, as the name says, they want money, they want trade, they want investments, etc. So representative office is a type of, it's not even an entity, it's just, an extension of the existing company. So it's type of a client that banks do not really like. Okay, so it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of convincing from the shareholders, from the founders of this foreign company, an existing company, to convince the banks to open a bank account for this representative office. And it's not going to be easy. Hard to sponsor employee visas. Okay, once again, for the government, it's not really interesting, to issue visas, generally speaking, for representative office employees. Okay, can only engage in market research meetings, representation of the mother company, like we mentioned, and not a separate entity, again, but an extension of the existing foreign company. Okay, that's pretty much all the representative office stands for. And that's why when we are asked which type of company to choose when entering the Chinese market, my usual answer is WFOE, wholly foreign owned enterprise. That is the limited liability company. Why to waste money and time to register representative office while you can immediately go to WFOE option, because it can engage in many more things plus what representative office does. Here in the last benefit here it's listed. And it saves you time, it saves you money, and it can also give you a lot of flexibility while you are in China. Imagine once you open a representative office, there is this option. For example, you register this and you start your operations, you start market research, etc., and suddenly you come across with a great opportunity, right? You want to engage in trade immediately, and but unfortunately you cannot do with representative office, and that opportunity might not exist in a few weeks or in a few days. If you ask them to wait while you register your WFOE, you might actually lose that opportunity to do business with your potential partners in China, because registering a WFOE, it takes around 1 month, 1.5 months, and to open a bank account altogether it goes up to 2 months, to register with the tax office, to register with the customs office. So it's time-consuming process. Actually, for both WFOE and representative office, they both take the same amount of time, right? So therefore, our question to our potential clients is, why waste time to register a representative office while we can just directly register WFOE and can have everything that you want to do in China? You can do market research, you can taste the market, so to speak, and at the same time you are ready for the upcoming opportunities, okay, for potential clients, for potential partnerships. You're not going to ask them to wait, please, while you go ahead and register your company. Okay, so that's why once again, guys, if you are trying to decide what type of company to go with, WFOE or representative office, our suggestion to you will be to register a fully functional company, which is WFOE. And representative office, please don't take me wrong, it's got its purposes, it's got its own maybe advantages, maybe a little bit cost effective once it starts functioning. I mean, in terms of, like, you don't have to really hire an accountant, you don't really have to maintain employees here, etc., etc. So from that aspect, maybe a little bit cost effective, but honestly speaking, the difference is not that much. So it's just minor differences. But when it comes to functioning, when it comes to flexibility, WFOE has got a lot of benefits, while RO cannot just offer. So this is our website, grnfirm.com, and this is our email, and this is our telephone number. You can add this number for Telegram, WhatsApp, and WeChat for quick communication. But if you have specific situation, please feel free to email us. I will be glad to answer and assist with your market entrance in China. Thank you very much. See you guys next time.